Said it couldn't be done. What? I couldn't be more excited about today.
Why is that?
Our special guest used to be my boss.
Oh, really?
That's right. This is going to be a great episode. Welcome to Conversations in Commerce, where we have candid conversations about technology, e-commerce, web to print, the supply chain, and we try to have a little fun in the process. I'm your host, Andrew Alford, and with me today is our co-host, Alyssa. Hey, Alyssa, how's it going?
Hi, how are you guys today?
Doing good. So, what do you think about our guest today?
He used to be your boss.
That's right.
Well, okay, so he's an engraver, though. When did you ever work for an engraving company?
Well, no, I never did, but I knew Steve from way back in the day.
What day was that?
Well, okay, so it's been at least 12 years since we worked together, and probably a good 20 since we probably made our first connection when I was working at Printegra all those years ago.
Wow, that is very impressive.
Well, look, let me go ahead and introduce him. The suspense is absolutely killing me here, so let's go ahead and welcome our guest. Today's guest is one of the industry's legitimate unsung heroes. He is the founder of Sword Microsystems and the father of LabelNet, the highly efficient paperless workflow system used by discount labels. He was the VP of IT and led a team of hundreds of IT professionals for a $2.5 billion publicly traded company. And if these things weren't enough, he demonstrated calm leadership under an absolute pressure cooker, shielding hundreds of people from corporate pressures. Nowadays, he's a husband, he's a dad, he's a granddad, and most recently became the co-founder of Easel Engraving, based out of Huntsville, Alabama. Without further hesitation, let's welcome to the show Steve Wakefield, everyone. Hey, Steve.
Hey, Andrew. Thank you. It is great to be working together again.
Yeah, I have to admit, I'm super excited to have you here, and I think I might have mentioned this to the audience maybe a minute ago, but just to be clear, you were my boss no less than 12 years ago, just before I left Synveo to Liftoff, and it's a real honor to have you here on the show today. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, no, the honor was mine being able to work with you. When you came into the organization, when Printegra became a part of it, it was very clear that you had the leadership skills and technical skills and all the great things you had created for Printegra. So the faster, further we could utilize you, the better. And you continue to show that with the great company you built today.
Well, thank you. When I introduced you as an unsung hero a few moments ago, I wasn't kidding. You've proven it's possible to demonstrate that you can have an incredible and widespread impact without ever shining the light on yourself. Sometimes I refer to my team as the disciples of Wakefield, and that there are a ton of values that you impressed on me and several members of the team that defected to Liftoff from Synveo. We'll be in the process of working through some sort of major problem, and sometimes we'll often refer to how you would have handled it, right? We'd say, what would Steve do? No lie. So hey, look, if you give me the microphone long enough, I'm going to continue singing your praises, and we're not going to get very far. So Steve, I put you on a pedestal for our audience, but maybe it's better if you take over and tell us a little bit about your origin story. Where did it all start for you, and how did you end up on our podcast today?
Well, thank you, Andrew. And disciples of Wakefield, that's kind of scary. In fact, it's very scary. I've just really been blessed throughout my career to work with great people, such as yourself. And many of them, I end up getting to take the credit for their hard work and their incredible products that they produce. My career's been all over the board. I like to reinvent myself about every 10 years. My undergraduate was in chemical engineering from Auburn. I started my career at Exxon. After a couple of years there, I returned to school to study artificial intelligence in the early days and did my master's and PhD work there. Did defense contracting, NASA research for about years in the field of AI, back when the computing resources were nothing like what they are today. But my heart was always in manufacturing. So after about 10 years of being involved in that incredible work, which I greatly enjoyed, I wanted to apply that technology back to manufacturing. And so I started Sword Microsystems. In the early days, I was very fortunate to come across a great company called Discount Labels in New Albany. That started by a gentleman named Fred Conway, who was just an amazing individual and was being run by his son, daughter, and son-in-law, Alan Conway, Winnie Arledge, and Saul Arledge. And they were growing the company at 40% a year, doing thousands of custom orders a day. And we had the privilege of implementing an electronic workflow system with them. and with their incredible internal IT team. Uh, that went great as they began to grow. They were acquired by various companies, ultimately being acquired by Syndeo. We picked up business with their sister companies and with the automotive industry, the print industry, and we continued to grow throughout the 90s. When 2000 hit, the dot-com bubble burst. Manufacturing went into a recession about as deep as the Great Depression, or the biggest one since the Great Depression. And when things were starting to recover a little bit, then 9/11 hit. So early part of the century was up on everyone, and our business was no different. But we made it through it thanks to just an incredible team that we had, and to grow again in 2003, and in 2004, it ended up being acquired by Syndeo. I took a senior leadership role there and did that for 17 years. Throughout that time, I was so blessed to work with so many incredible, incredible team members, such as yourself. But you gave me the credit for being the father of LabelNet. Well, Michael, who is your outstanding VP of development, I had the privilege of working with him from the late 90s, and he is the one that brought LabelNet to life. He and several other members of the team, Rufus Eves was part of that team, just great resources that are now part of your incredible team. Cam, who you have leading your QA efforts, she was a part of the original team that implemented the electronic workflow, and then for many years, a key driver in its iterations and improvements and changes. And ultimately, she was so impressive that we couldn't leave her in production, and I was able to steal her into IT, where I had the joy of having her on our team for many, many years. And now she's part of your incredible team. Ashley was part of our team, and another incredible resource. So I think you understand what it's like to start a small business and the value of incredible resources, and it shows with the team that you've built. If I do say so myself, I've been just really blessed to work with all of those. About 3 years ago, at a point, kids are grown, and Syndeo had been through ups and downs, unfortunately, mostly downs, and just decided it was time to do something else. And the most fun I've ever had in my career was running Sword Microsystems. So, working with a couple of business partners, Joe Cortez, who you know, who was the president of one of the segments in Syndeo many years ago, who I really respect and is just another great leader that I've had the privilege of working with, and Michelle Eubank, who has been just an outstanding partner for many, many years throughout the journey. Both of them agreed to be business partners, and we launched Easel Engraving, and that's how we got into it.
Wow. I mean, it's incredible how we all ended up here, right? I don't know if we call it grace or happy accidents, but I mean, I'm really excited to be where we're at today. Um, Steve, I know you mentioned a lot there, and not to add to the list of humanitarian nods for you, but one of the things I remember each year is that you spent some time in Nicaragua, right, working with the underserved. And, it always impressed me a lot that you took so much personal time and you traveled such a long distance to help a group of people that you didn't know. Tell us a little bit about your work there and what you've seen, the positive progress from your mission trips.
Well, I've been so blessed, Andrew, to be able to go 8 times to Nicaragua and twice to Panama. I'll be making my third trip to Panama this coming fall. Working with people that do not have access to the resources that we have. And it has been such an incredible experience. It really keeps me grounded. And I'm so impressed by those individuals, their resourcefulness, their grace, with so few resources to be able to accomplish so much, and to have such joy in life when we typically here have so much, and we whine about so little. We whine a lot when we have so much, and they have so little, and they're just very productive, amazing people. I'll give you one story that just really touched my heart. I was serving in a camp in a place called El Limonal, the Lemon. This was a refugee camp where victims of Hurricane Mitch, which was a Category 5 hurricane in the late 90s, that came in from the Gulf side over Nicaragua hit the Pacific side and was so large that it stalled and for 3 days picked up energy as a category 5 from both the Atlantic and the Pacific Oceans and just dumped on that country.
Oh, wow.
Hard to imagine that.
Yeah.
Imagine something like Katrina getting stuck for 3 days. Um, so this was a refugee community. They had no running water, no electricity, and they were between the city dump, the city sewage treatment plant, and the city cemetery. So great, neighborhood. And most of the houses were houses, and I use that term loosely. The homes were built from things they pulled out of the city dump. So there were limbs and garbage bags and pieces of tin.
Wow.
We were working with the children there, and one of the local churches that ministered there, feeding them 3 meals a week, and that was cooked over an open wood stove, about 150 children. And while we were serving them one day, there was a young man, father of a couple of small children, and that lived right next to the pavilion where we fed the children. And literally, his house was made of garbage bags. And there was a little walkway, a trail that had been worn in the ground in front of his house. It's kind of like you think of the sidewalk, probably about 1.5 feet of just wild grass, and then the dirt road in front of it. Even though that was the environment, he was on his hands and knees with a machete trimming that grass so that his front looked nice.
Wow.
And I thought, how many of us complain when our riding lawnmowers don't work quite right?
Yeah.
So it's really been a blessing to me to work with such incredible people, and they teach me an awful lot of lessons and really keep me grounded.
And that it sounds like a really big lesson in perspective, for one. All the things you mentioned there, those are things you just wouldn't expect to see. You don't walk down your neighborhood street and
Right.
see those sort of things. And I imagine it's very humbling, Steve. So really, really appreciate you going out and being one of the people that are loving on other folks in the world, because Lord knows the world needs it. So look now. Now let's switch gears. We're just going to tear the transmission out of the car, because we're going from talking about humanitarian stuff now to what you're doing today. So look, you're in the field of engraving, which is quite a departure from where you started. With easel engraving, I see that you're doing quite well. So maybe it's time to focus a little less on Steve and more about your business. um, I guess maybe take us through a walk of what you do over at Easel every day and what daily life looks like at an engraving company.
Okay. Well, first of all, it's not really that much of a departure when you think that we've worked in custom printing, custom products for so many years.
That's true.
So we were able to really marry a lot of what our experience has been in those industries. It's using a laser to make the design on various substrates versus a printer head to make the design on various substrates. So there is a lot of commonality. But like Andrew, when you're the owner of a small business, a day in the life of is chief cook and bottle washer, literally. But the nice thing about engraving is it can be so versatile that no one day is the same as the previous. We get to do just incredible things for incredible customers, creating all sorts of custom products, from promotional items to awards to signs and all sorts of great things to help them build their businesses and recognize their achievements. So it's really exciting.
Well, that's pretty incredible. So tell you what, I think this brings us to the topic for the show today, which is engraving the way. It's a take on paving the way. Tad bit punny, but sorry about that. So on today's show, we're going to visit the world of engraving, which is, I think the more I learn about it, the deeper the rabbit hole gets. I got to be honest, I used to look at engraving from a bit of a two-dimensional perspective. For me, it was just one of those options, right, for decorating branded merchandise. You need a logo, engrave it. Need a nameplate, cool, engrave that too. But I think the point that a lot of folks are missing is that engraving is kind of a premium service, and it's more than just putting a name or a logo on something, right? In many cases, you're creating very premium pieces. You're kind of going beyond the traditional, I don't know, I guess I'll call it slapping a logo on a product mindset, right?
Absolutely. It's so versatile. We do traditional, I guess you would consider engraving, the awards, the acrylic awards, the glass, crystal awards, that type of thing. But we get into all sorts of glassware, whether it's logo for beer mugs or champagne glasses or wedding wine glasses, including the wine bottles themselves or bourbon bottles themselves. You can cut acrylic with lasers. You can cut all sorts of materials with lasers, wood and acrylic, etc. And we make all sorts of really interesting custom things, uh, including signs as big as 5'4" for the downtown rescue mission. It's a huge sign that they put in their entranceway when they're bringing tour groups through. It's acrylic on brushed aluminum with an LED backlight. It's just an amazing sign. And we do signs like that for organizations and companies. And so you can go to very large. You can create things by cutting. You can create things by engraving. And then we added UV printing. And so combining all three, there's virtually an unlimited amount of custom items that we can create.
Well, that sounds like a really diverse range of services that you can offer. I don't know that I really consider the true depth of what you could actually do. So you were kind enough to share some videos with us of the engraving process. We're going to go ahead and put one of those up on the screen right now. Let's see what we've got.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is it looks like we're making some wristbands here. Looks like for a school,
Right.
maybe. Yeah, this is cool.
Right. Something as simple as a silicon wristband that can get the logo and the message to give out to the kids on the band or a sports team or debate club or any type of activity at the school.
So let's see. I think we've also got another video. This one is of a big sign, it looks like. Yeah, they're peeling some. What is this? Okay, let's see. Janpro. Okay.
Probably, yep, one of our acrylic signs that we did for a commercial cleaning company. Cutting multiple layers of acrylic to create their logo in their colors, but in a weatherproof acrylic sign that's been out in front of their building for a couple of years now.
Well, that is really incredible, actually. When I look at that sign, especially, that's what I'm talking about, those premium pieces. I don't know that people really consider that a process of engraving.
Right.
So you just opened my eyes to that, Steve. I always wondered how those really cool looking signs are made. I might have to hit you up for a liftoff a liftoff commerce sign at some
Good luck
point in
the
the future.
opportunity.
Yeah. So I guess moving on from that, seeing some of the equipment in the video has me a little bit curious about your equipment. Do you mind if I ask about it? Is it safe to say we were just looking at a laser engraver, right? That's what that was.
Right. We have laser engraving equipment, a couple of varieties. One that is focused on our main workhorse, high speed production for awards, medals, cutting high volume items, but it has a limited contained bed. And sometimes people need things that are fairly large, and we needed a way to engrave those. And so we have another equipment that both the sides and the front and back open, so we can place very large items in it. We've done the back windshield of a pickup for a custom auto company here in town. We've done oars for a marina for a ward. There were 6-foot long oars. A number of things like that we can engrave that would not fit in the other machine. The other thing is that machine also has a much higher power. Even though it goes slower than our main workhorse machine, it does a great job in metal marking, which usually requires a much slower speed, and glassware. All of our machines have rotary attachments that allow us to do tumblers and glassware and wine bottles, those types of things. Then within the past year, we've added the UV printing capability because more and more of our customers were looking for a combination of engraved and color. And those machines can go up to 36 by 24 sheets. They're flatbed. but we recently acquired equipment that allow us to do direct to film with those machines that allow us to apply that ink onto circular and spherical items. So a lot of good equipment that lets us create a lot of neat things for our customers.
That is extremely cool. I got to say that laser that we were watching that video looks pretty hot. I mean, it's safe to say that's not what you play with your cat with, right? That thing gets pretty hot. Is that is so? How one? I guess how hot does it get, and is that variable depending on the substrate you're working on?
You're absolutely right. The laser works is by essentially focusing a laser beam on a very specific point, and applying, which creates a lot of heat. So it basically burns the substrate. It can vary. It is one of the key parameters in setting up a job, is setting that power in combination with the speed that you're running it to get it just right for the material. Uh, for example, polypropylene, we can engrave, but it has a very low melting point. I believe it melts around 3 degrees Fahrenheit. So we can get beautiful, beautiful results on it if we go very rapidly with very low heat. It's a beautiful result. You get too much power or too slow, and you end up with a puddle of goo. Not that I would know personally, mind you, but I've heard. So you have to be very careful with the power. But then that can go all the way up to metal marking, which requires temperatures between 2,500 and 3,000 degrees
Oh
Fahrenheit.
my gosh.
So you have to go very slow and really cut into those materials. And then in between is everything from etching glass to engraving and cutting wood. So the temperature varies widely, and it's one of the control parameters, but that is the basic way that it works.
That's hot. So 2,500 to 3,000 degrees. That's kind of insanity. I guess speaking of substrates, I did see a few different products that were in the video that you were creating, and there was some other videos that just didn't make it to the show, but it was a lot. I think we saw we saw the wristbands, we saw the vinyl signage. I guess what are all sorts of different substrates can you work with? I mean, is it limitless, or what does that look like?
It's virtually limitless, but not limitless. We work with acrylic an awful lot. Colored and clear acrylics work really well with engraving glassware. We do a ton of glassware. Also works really well. Crystal. The clear substrates like that, a ton of those. Wood, whether it's cutting boards or people that are making wooden signs, wooden coasters, that type of thing. Wood engraves really, really well. And as long as it's not too thick for the laser, can also be cut to very custom shapes. Engravable plastics, we make very custom shaped name tags and awards with engravable plastic because we can engrave it and then cut it to the exact logo shape of the customer, for example. So engravable plastics, leather and faux leather products are also very popular. Powder coating, which is what you see on most tumblers and flasks and things like that, is a color coating on stainless steel, and the laser basically cuts through the coating and exposes the stainless underneath it.
That's cool.
Also a very popular substrate. So it's virtually limitless. However, there are some that we must say no to. The first and foremost is anything with PVC or vinyl in it. Those are very common materials used in the sign industry and home improvement, etc., that people sometimes want us to engrave on, and we just have to say no, because when you use a laser on those materials, because of the heat, it creates chlorine gas.
Oh.
So not necessarily great for the environment. Certainly don't want to expose our employees to it. But then it also combines with moisture in the air to form hydrochloric acid, and it'll eat up your equipment like a quick lunch. So
That's
we
scary.
absolutely say no to PVC.
That sounds horrible.
Noted.
And you'd be surprised. We've actually had engravers that have been requested to engrave on a firework. So So I'll let you think about how likely it would be to put a firework under something that can go up to 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit.
The
Um,
brightest idea.
so
Yeah, I tell you, if you wanted to go viral, that's one way to do it. Hey, watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to engrave a firework. Here we go. Hey, TikTok, here we go.
Redstone Arsenals here in town. We do a lot of work for the military. We've actually engraved on mortar shells,
Oh, wow.
spent mortar shell, mind you,
Okay.
not with the live round in. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
There is a limit. The last one I'll mention is borosilicate glass. It's a specialized glass that is designed to withstand high thermal temperature changes, like filling it up with ice and then dumping hot, boiling tea over it, and it won't shatter. It has some really great uses. However, when you try to laser etch it, rather than leaving a frosted micro shatter, which is how glass engraving works, it actually shatters the glass because it's resisting the thermal change so much that it actually breaks the glass. So
Hmm.
when people request that we do customer supplied items for them, we have to make sure that it's a material that's not on our do not engrave list before we can accept it, or otherwise we have to politely say no.
Wow. That's kind of crazy. So, man, I segue here. I imagine with an engraver, it's not just a piece of equipment you just pull out of a box, right? And just hit the button and it goes, right? There's calibration, there's trial and error. And imagine trial and error is expensive in the world of engraving, is it not?
It is, and I would love to tell you that we did more trial than error, but there are days that error wins out because you have to get the power, the speed, the focus, the leveling, everything needs to come together perfect for that particular material. Yeah, some days it's more error than trial. That's part of the fun. Is once you figure it out, then for that material, that customer going forward, you can be very efficient and create wonderful things for them.
So the whole thing looks really cool. I mean, it's a really easy to demonstrate sort of process, and it offers a really premium branded component that stands out. Like, especially when you're in the world of branded merchandise, there's stickers that you can overlay on stuff or maybe embroidery, but engraving it has that extra zing. I don't know how to say it, but it seems like
It
this
is
is
permanent.
yeah. So this seems like a product or a service that our subscribers would be really interested in learning more about getting into. So for our subscribers, tell me what it looks like as an entry point for a distributor that's wanting to offer engraving services.
Well, as you know, my heart is in the distribution channel, having worked in that field for almost 3 decades, and I understand and value what the distributor brings to the table. They understand the customer. They understand what it takes to invest in capturing that customer, nurturing that customer, getting the order. Um, but they also understand the value of artwork, most importantly, which is key in creating any custom product. So I often tell people that the artwork is 80% of the battle and the engraving is only 20%. So as a distributor, you're already 80% of the way there. And we've been very fortunate. When we first started this, I really didn't expect the distributor channel to be as big a part as it's become. We do offer retail, but we give significant distributor discounts to distributor customers so that they can service their customers. We do the non-compete, we do the non-disclosure, blind drop ship, the whole 9 yards. And it's been one of the fastest growing areas of our business because they understand the customer need, they understand artwork, they understand the message that customer is trying to convey. So they're doing a lot of the heavy lifting. And so when they've done that much work, it's much easier for us to create the product. They've done most of the upfront work. So all we have to do is produce it for them, deliver it to them at a cost that they can make money on and make their customer happy.
So I guess as with anything you sell, it's not just about selling the product, but you also need to understand how to sell the product. Do you offer any sort of educational offerings or marketing assistance for new distributors that are looking to break into this market?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question, Andrew. And basically, you're creating a challenge for me. We have a few videos on educational videos around artwork and turnaround times and those types of things, but we are way short of what we need to have as far as educational videos on selling engraving for a distributor. And I'm going to take it as an action item to try to rectify that shortfall.
So, I guess, becoming a new distributor into engraving seems like a low risk kind of move if I'm a new distributor. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. It is a great additional product to what you're currently offering your customer. As I mentioned, you already working with your customer on artwork for their apparel or their stickers or their what other promotional products they're working on. So you're already working with that customer's artwork, their logo, their branding, their messaging. You already have all of that information, and you're already used to working with suppliers in the custom product industry to get proofs, to understand what the pros and cons of the different options are. So you're already very familiar with 90% of what it takes to get into engraving. Uh, and so it's a very easy add on product to the product line that you're already offering to your customers because you're already doing 90% of what's involved.
Okay. So I guess now that you know how to sell it, or you're talking about knowing how to sell it, now we got to go to market, right? So let's talk about going to
Right.
market with engraving. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that one of the best ways to market it is by social media, these videos, right? Because the videos I watched in your social feed are impressive. They're captivating, they're fun to watch, and they're kind of eye opening. I don't know. What do you think? What's the best way to go to market here?
Well, I agree. Social media is so key in any business today. Um, we have been very fortunate. Business has been captured across Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube videos, Instagram, Pinterest, blogs, you name it. Um, it's a key way of getting the message out. And with the videos and the photos, people can see and understand the products that they're looking for and how it could apply to their needs. So you're right. It's a great avenue. Um, I am very blessed to have team members and both inside and outside resources that know a whole lot more about it than I do. And we still have a long way to go, and we continually try to improve. But as we improve, we really do see the results.
So, so beyond social media marketing, what other channels do you see yielding success for engraved products? Being that it's a very display-oriented product, I imagine pictures, videos, anything else that you can represent the product helps, right?
Yes, Andrew, you're right. Being able to touch and feel samples is key in selling the product. So we've seen that any kind of trade show, chamber event, conference or exhibit where you can place a sample table that people can see, touch, feel the wide variety of products can be produced from engraving really gets the ideas flowing and have been very, very successful in landing sales because people can actually touch and see the product. So that's one of the key ways that we've seen. The other, just from any kind of sales, is follow up, follow up, follow up. We've had customers that we've met, seemed excited. We followed up, we've contacted them. They said they want meetings, and then they ghost us, sometimes for months. And without trying to be a pest, we continually just reach out, contact them, and numbers of times we've gotten to the point where, like, well, okay, we're just never going to hear from them. And then the phone will ring or an email will come in that they need something, and they turn into huge customers. So again, follow up, and oh yeah, did I mention follow up?
What about following up, Steve? Are we going to do that?
Maybe I need to follow up.
Yeah, maybe so. Well, Steve, it was really cool to hear about Hazel and everything that you're doing over there. But it's time to move on to another section. It's one of my favorite sections called Memorable Merch. And this is the section of the show where we talk about something cool, some merchandise that was very impactful to you, some branded merchandise specifically. And Steve, I understand you've got something to talk about today.
Well, we've been fortunate to be able to create some really neat branded merchandise. For one of the local marinas here, we were able to create oar-shaped acrylic awards with LED lights. So for a competition that they were holding, so that you can set the light to different colors. It's in the shape of an oar. It's just a really cool a way to recognize the achievements. The other one was a gentleman that came in and wanted a special 3 foot by 2 foot shield as a retirement gift with a number of different images engraved on it, messages engraved on it, and custom printed challenge coins adhered to it. So we were able to create this just very custom, unique award as a gift that was really one of.
So those LED oars actually kind of sound kind of cool to me. I know we showed a picture of it just a minute ago. How is that powered? How is that just battery powered? Is that
Rechargeable batteries.
rechargeables? Okay.
Just rechargeable. You can charge them with a USB cable, even, and they last a very long time. But yeah, just rechargeable lithium batteries.
Very cool. Very
That's
cool.
really cool. Is this like a wireless thing or like? Oh, I'm assuming
Yes, and
so.
in fact,
Got the
it's
batteries.
a wireless remote control that lets you change the color.
That's really nice.
Nice.
We need to get one of those.
Yeah, it's probably like one of these guys right here. I'm holding up, right? So you can click the little colors on it. You can't see it in my screen right now, but I've got an LED sign up here that works the same way. You hit blue, it goes blue. Yeah, cool stuff. I love LEDs. They've been around since forever, and now they're just now becoming popular. What, 70 years later? I don't know how long they've been around, but it's kind of cool to see them taking shape.
Right. Absolutely.
So, well, thank you for sharing your memorable merch with us, Steve. And now it's time to move on yet again. We're moving really fast. This is the section of the show we call Tech Trends. And this is where we have an opportunity to kind of talk about the cool things that are going on in our industry, specifically related to tech. And Steve, you had mentioned you've got a few things that you have for us today. And I'm kind of curious to see what you got.
Well, the buzz in the tech industry right now is artificial intelligence, and as that's where I started and did all my graduate studies and early days of research. I have refreshed some of that and have allowed a couple of people that I really respect that work in other industries to drag me back into consulting part time, just so I don't get bored between engraving things. And it's really amazing what's going on with the addition of the resource. I mean, the biggest change in the past 30 years, quite frankly, is not the algorithms. I mean, they've certainly made advances with the availability of the resources, the computing and storage resources, to be able to train these large models has really allowed quantum leaps in how they're utilized. From my standpoint, I'm looking at it from how can it be utilized in businesses and in manufacturing and in operations and in marketing and promotions. And there are so many positive uses for AI. I use it almost on a daily basis for a variety of different things, even in our little business. They're like most technologies, whether it's the internet, nuclear power, or you name it, it can be used for good or bad. There are also some significant dangers with some of the advances that are going on in artificial intelligence. Not so much I'm sorry, Hal, I can't do that. I'm not really losing any sleep over the robot taking over the world and that type of thing, at least at this point. But more the misuse of it. It's been used for all sorts of nefarious purposes, miscommunication, um, uh, exploitation. And so, I think that's the challenge that different government bodies have, is trying to figure out, and even the tech industry itself, how do you stay in front of all the positive things that it can do and contain the negative uses that it can be used.
So it's interesting, we've been using AI as well, and last year actually had an opportunity to visit Google Next, and it was all about AI. So we met in San Francisco, and it wasn't just your Chat GPT, which I think a lot of people have adopted now. Marketing teams almost everywhere are using Chat GPT to generate content, but generative AI is one of the things that Google had as in their toolkit. And when I say it was mind blowing what you could do with it, it was beyond anything I think most consumers have seen yet. And to kind of paint a picture of what we saw was with generative AI, imagine replatforming your entire platform, Steve. Like if let's say
Right.
you went from Xcode to maybe you want to go to Windows for some reason. You
Right.
tell generative AI kind of what you want to do. You give it some guardrails, and it works some incredible magic, Steve. It's the most incredible thing I've ever seen. And so I think,
Right.
from a development standpoint, the first thing was, oh man, this is scary. This is killing me. What does this do to professionals like myself in this space?
Right.
What about my company? It means that somebody could leapfrog me very easily with the next generation of technology. And to me, that was a very scary thing. But then you started getting a little bit more deeper into the weeds. You start talking about the ethics and the morals, some of the things that you were just talking about just a second ago. And one of the things that Google had talked about was way back in the day when they first started investing in this, and this goes back further than I think most people are aware that AI has been a thing, is that, the morals and ethics, there was an engine, there was literally layers, systematic layers that they put into place, knowing this would happen, knowing that this would come. And so
Right.
those protective layers are meant, even if a bad actor decided, hey, I'm going to use generative AI for some nefarious thing, it would put me in my place. It would keep me from being able to go off those rails because of those protections they put into place. They obviously wanted them in there before governments and, international agencies decided, hey, we're going to do this for you. They wanted to take that first step and that first leap in protecting, AI and us, from ourselves, I think.
Right.
But yeah, it's incredible. And I think you said it earlier. You studied AI how long ago?
Started in the mid '80s, believe it or not.
Yeah. See,
And
it's been around for a long time. Sorry, go ahead.
no, it has. I mean, the neural network algorithms were defined at that time. That are the underlying, the augmented transition networks, underlying part of the language models, neural networks, which are all the training algorithms. They started then, and even before then, 10 to 15 years before then. But just the computing power was insufficient to make the quantum leaps that they've had in the past 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, 100K of memory is probably not going to get you very far, is it?
It's
And a gig of storage space probably isn't as much nowadays as it used to be back in the 80s.
it's actually crazy how much it's grown. I was looking into it earlier, and something like a third of all B2B businesses use AI in some kind of capacity on the daily at this point. So, and that number is just going to continue to grow as AI advances and things change, and it's really cool to watch.
And probably a huge number of that other 2/3 is they're using it, they just don't know they're using it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are. Most definitely. A lot of television sets now have AI built in it. Your Alexa that you're using. Now, I'm not talking
Yep.
to you, Alexa. Shh. Oh, that was almost dangerous. Um, it's everywhere. It's in our lives. It's in our vehicles.
Yeah.
It's in our phones. Most of the Google
Mhm.
searches that we do nowadays take it into play. It's here to stay and it's here to grow. And who knows? It's exciting work. You guys hear that? Oh, you know what time that is? It's my favorite time of the show. It's time for
Cash or Swag.
Cash or Swag. That's right. This is the part of the show where we get to award Steve for being such an amazing guest on today's show. Alyssa, you have the wheel.
I do indeed have the wheel.
All right, here we go. So, Steve, you're going to have to somehow virtually spin this thing. So, why don't you give her a countdown? You got, all right, there we go. All right, do it one more time.
All right.
Take. Go for it, Steve.
Ready?
Set.
Go.
We have a liftoff jacket. Oh, what is that? That's a nice swag.
Yes, it is.
Is that one of our North Face jackets?
I believe it is, yes.
Steve, oh my goodness, you're gonna get one of our quality pieces, man.
Awesome.
Well, you absolutely deserve it for all of the time that you spent with us today. I really appreciate your insights, and if anything else, it was great getting caught up with you after 12 years of not working together. So, really appreciated having you on the show, your insights, and I really hope that someday you might be able to come back and show us what engraving looks like, I don't know, in the future at some point.
I would look forward to it. I just have enjoyed getting back together, Andrew, with you, and Alyssa, thank you. This has been just a wonderful experience, and I really appreciate the opportunity.
Well, thank you. And for our subscribers and our viewers and our listeners, thank you so much for investing your time in our show today. We hope that you found it useful and wonderful. And by the way, go check out Easel Engraving. They're an incredible outfit run by an incredible group of people. You won't be disappointed. Until next time, thank you.